Hello and welcome to another episode of the Acupuncture Storytime podcast. If you've been listening to previous podcasts and you're a fan, well, thank you so much for listening. I'm so happy that you enjoy and benefit from this content. And if you're new to the podcast, thank you for joining. I hope you'll find this helpful. Today's case is about shoulder back pain, latissimus dorsi pain. And it's hot off the presses. This was just from May 6th, 2024. And so very recent. A young man came in with pain in the right latissimus dorsi muscle and a big knot in his back around the area of T3, kind of above the shoulder blade. And he has a lot of pain when he does a throwing motion, like he was throwing a baseball. Now, this is a 7-year-old injury. It started from a gym injury, and he's done gone to different practitioners and tried different things to get it better, but nothing has really worked to help him to be able to throw a baseball or to be able to move his arm and work out freely in the last 7 years. So, as I'm assessing this injury, I'm thinking, okay, it's kind of like spleen channel, small intestine channel, and the Sanjiao channel, the triple warmer channel. That's the areas that seem the most affected, and so that's what I'm going to try to approach. The other thing that was really notable and interesting about this patient is that he walked in with a big smile, but he looked like there was a lot of sadness behind that smile. And there's a great book called Chinese Medicine Face Reading, written by Lillian Bridges, and it talks about how different emotions and experiences cause different facial expressions and microfacial expressions. And these facial expressions and microfacial expressions can cause lines and wrinkles to form on the face in specific patterns. And this young man had very strong smile lines and also very strong grief and pain lines on his face. And when he spoke about his injury and he spoke about the pain he was going through, it was notable that he smiled the whole time. And a normal person doesn't smile when they talk about something that's painful and uncomfortable. So this is someone who's using the mechanism of a smile to hold back and repress a lot of pain that he's experiencing. Now, when it comes to pain conditions, this is important because emotions have a huge regulatory factor on the subjective experience of pain and also on the way that our body processes blood flow and processes nervous pain signaling. And so I just kind of have my eyes out for that during the treatment. So I put him on the table, and something I noticed about him when taking his pulse is he had very weak kidney pulse, which is unusual for a young man. And so you can kind of check the status of the kidneys by palpating the psoas muscle on the inside of the hip. And so I palpated, and it was very sore and tender for him. And, when I originally got on the table, I planned to do some sort of kind of balance, like Dr. Tan balance method to work on the affected channels in the shoulder. But I said, you know what? Let me nourish the kidney and see what happens. So I used kidney 7 on one leg, kidney 9 on the other leg, kidney 15 bilateral, kidney 23 bilateral. And I went back and I did a tonifying technique on these, going from bottom to top in the direction of the channel to kind of strengthen the kidney chi, reset it. And I rechecked the psoas, and immediately the psoas felt better. And so that was good. And I asked, hey, I did some of the background work underneath the patterns going underneath the pain in your body. Could you just do the throwing motion again now and tell me if it hurts? And he does the throwing motion again, and I'm expecting it to kind of not really have a change, and he has a much greater range of motion that's possible for him than he did before. And he says, wow, all the pain is gone, except now I have a new pain that was on the inside of the elbow at point heart 3, where the medial epicondyle. So kind of like where where golfer's elbow is. And I said, well, that makes perfect sense because I really wanted to treat him with the gallbladder channel for the pain on the triple warmer channel. And now, when we treated this kidney, all the pain went away, which is really interesting. And it moved to this heart 3 because he's got this emotional issue where he's holding back all of this sadness and pain in his heart through that smile. And he has these grief lines, I noticed. And guess what? Sanjiao is balanced with gallbladder, and gallbladder also balances the heart because the gallbladder and Sanjiao are both the foot and the hand Xiaoyang channels, and the foot Xiaoyang channel gallbladder can balance the hand Xiaoyin as well, which is heart. So there's a relationship between all of these, and so since the pain moved there to heart 3, and a lot of times this happens, when you do acupuncture for pain, which is you do a distal point that's relevant and the pain moves locations and you kind of chase it around to different spots until it goes away. So I used points gallbladder 34 and another Osher point on the knee on the gallbladder channel. Osher point means a point that's painful to touch, that shouldn't be. Like when you poke it, like it should be, okay, but you feel it, and the Chinese would go "asher," like so it's called an asher point. That's their cultural ouch. So I did those 2 points, and then I asked him to pretend to throw a baseball again, and now he just moved his arm, zero pain. And this was his first acupuncture treatment ever, and he was like, "What is happening? You haven't touched my elbow, and you haven't touched my back. You're like doing points on my legs, by my belly button, and like my knee, and now I can move my arm, and I haven't been able to move this arm well in 7 years. What's going on?" So that was a victory. So then I went and I checked that knot in his back. That's kind of on the triple wormer channel, like small intestine channel area around there. And that was still really tight. And I thought, what do we do about this? As I was kind of feeling it, something inside me told me to think about the daimai, the belt channel. And that was just like a bit of intuition. And I went, now when I palpated his psoas to check the kidneys, that's at the side of the hip. If I go a little bit lower down on the medial aspect of the hip bone, the anterior hip bone there, you get to points that are on the belt channel, and I felt those, and they were exquisitely tender for him. So I added the master points of the daimai channel, Sanjiao 5, gallbladder 41, that opens up that belt channel around the body. And after that, the pain significantly decreased in those daimai points that I was feeling. And I said, okay, that's good. And I went back, and now the knot changed. It was still a knot, but it moved. Before it stayed still, and now you can kind of like wiggle it and move it. It was a little bit more free. And I was feeling it, and I think I said it was on the Sanjiao channel before, but really I think it was more, I'm looking at the notes now, it was more on the urinary bladder channel. And it was opposite the point lung 1, but on the back. And I thought about this sadness in his eyes, and the emotion of sadness is connected with the lung channel. And the lung has a relationship with the urinary bladder channel because the lung is the hand tai yin and it balances the foot tai yang, urinary bladder. A lot of times I treat back pain with the lung channel for that reason. Or, with lung problems, I might add like UB57 or something like that. But in this case, we saw also that this injury is not a musculoskeletal injury because with the distal acupuncture, it just instantly made all of the 7 years of pain go away. And so, if that's the case, there's nothing functionally, physically wrong with him. It's a nervous system issue that's going on, which seems to me to be linked to these emotions. And so I said, let's try lung 1 on the opposite side of the pain. It's the kind of the ventral counterpart to that dorsal knot. I used lung 1 on the opposite side of the pain, and then urinary bladder 65 as a guide point on the same side of the pain. Instantly, this knot in his back just melted. And by the way, it sounds like I'm like I gotta be making this up because it's so good, and we don't get results that are this good and this fast in the clinic often. This was a unique and really cool case because this guy came one time and just 7 years of all of these pains are just melting on the table instantly. And so anyway, so that worked. And I let him, sit there for about, 30, 40 minutes and just sit with those acupuncture points. I took it out, he got out, and he's just like, I cannot believe how effective that was. And like, what just happened? What is acupuncture? I said, yeah, there's your pain is not musculoskeletal; it's a nervous system issue. And so you were going for massages, treating the musculoskeletal issue, or other types of treatment like that, PT. But since it wasn't getting to the root of repairing the nervous system, it wasn't treating it. Now, the other thing I explained to him is the link between his repressed emotions and his pain, and I gave some suggestions about how to get in touch and some books of how to get in touch with emotions and let them experience them and move through them and go through them to let them go. And I said, if you can do that, you're not going to need to come back. You're going to save a huge amount of time and a huge amount of money on treatments. So, and he was very receptive to that. Haven't seen him since. So, hope the guy is doing well, and I hope that you were able to get something from this story and appreciate it. I felt like I learned a lot from that case, and myself was very surprised with how things turned out. Anyway, that's the end of this acupuncture story time. Hope you have a fabulous day and enjoyed the story.